Why do the rich want you working harder while they work less? You think the system is broken. It's not. It's working exactly as designed, just not for you. The elite don't hide money secrets because they're selfish. They hide them because your obedience depends on your ignorance. Every financial lesson you've been taught, work hard, save money, be responsible, is a psychological cage. It keeps you busy, tired, and predictable. Meanwhile, they operate on principles you've never been shown. Principles Machiavelli understood centuries ago. Power flows to those who control information, not those who follow it. You've been raised to see money as moral. Good people earn it through effort. Bad people manipulate it through deception. But morality is a tool for control. The rich don't operate on ethics. They operate on flow, leverage, and strategic ruthlessness. And the moment you understand what they've been hiding, everything changes. Not because you'll get rich overnight, but because you'll finally see the game. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This isn't motivation. This isn't inspiration. This is the truth they profit from you never learning. And it starts with understanding exactly how they've kept you obedient without you ever realizing you were being controlled. You don't know what you don't know. That's not philosophy. That's control. The elite built their dominance on one simple rule. Information is power, and withholding it is warfare. They don't need to cage you physically when they can cage your mind with selective truth. Every financial system, every economic narrative you consume is filtered, curated, designed to keep you asking the wrong questions while they operate in silence. You think you're informed because you read the news, scroll financial advice, follow market trends. But here's the reality. You're being fed breadcrumbs while they feast on the entire mechanism. The narrative you believe in wasn't created to educate you. It was engineered to manage you. When information flows freely, power disperses. That's why it never does. The rich don't share the blueprint, they share the distraction. They flood the space with noise, crypto hype, get-rich-quick schemes, surface-level investing tips that lead nowhere. Meanwhile, the real strategies, tax structures, offshore systems, asset protection, capital flow manipulation remain hidden behind closed doors and legal jargon you're discouraged from understanding. This isn't conspiracy, it's strategy. Machiavelli knew it centuries ago. The prince who controls perception controls the kingdom. And you're not even aware you're in the game. You think financial literacy is about budgeting and saving. That's servant-level thinking. True literacy is knowing how the rules are written, who writes them, and how they're bent without breaking. I've watched people spend decades working inside a system they never questioned. They follow advice from voices that profit from their obedience. Financial gurus selling courses on discipline and delayed gratification while quietly operating with insider knowledge and privileged access you'll never have. The controlled narrative isn't just about hiding money secrets. It's about making you believe that your current position is your fault, your responsibility, your moral failure. It's psychological manipulation at scale. They want you focused on personal accountability so you never look up and see the rigged architecture. Fairness is the lie they sell. Obedience is the result they harvest. The moment you realize that financial education is gate-kept, not absent, everything shifts. It's not that knowledge doesn't exist. It's that access is restricted by design. Complexity is a weapon. Terminology becomes a barrier. Legal frameworks are intentionally convoluted to intimidate you into hiring someone else to think for you. Dependence isn't accidental. It's cultivated. Every time you defer to an expert without understanding the underlying principle, you surrender power. Every time you accept surface-level explanations, you reinforce your own irrelevance. Respect in the financial world isn't given to the hardest worker. It's given to the one who understands the game well enough to rewrite it. And that understanding, it's hidden behind walls you're taught not to climb. You've been conditioned to see money as moral. Good people work hard, bad people cheat. But morality is a control tool. The elite don't operate on ethics, they operate on logic and leverage. They know that survival demands ruthlessness, not righteousness. They've structured entire economies around the psychology of fear and approval. Fear of being broke, approval of being responsible. But responsibility in their framework means staying predictable, staying small, staying manageable. The controlled narrative isn't just about what they hide. It's about what they make you believe. And what you believe determines every boundary you won't cross, every risk you won't take, every consequence you'll accept without resistance. The question isn't whether the system is fair. You were taught that fairness exists, that merit matters, that if you play by the rules, the system rewards you proportionally. That's the most profitable lie ever sold. Fairness is a psychological sedative designed to keep you compliant while others operate without constraint. The moment you internalize the belief that the game is fair, you stop questioning why you're losing. You blame yourself, your effort, your intelligence, your luck, but never the structure, never the architects. The illusion of fairness isn't just a belief. It's a weapon of mass control. It keeps you obedient because you think disobedience is immoral, not strategic. You think breaking the rules is wrong, not necessary. And that belief, it destroys your power before you even attempt to claim it. The system isn't designed to be fair. It's designed to appear fair. There's a difference. Appearance satisfies the masses. Actual fairness would dismantle hierarchy, and hierarchy is the foundation of control. The rich don't want equality. They want the illusion of opportunity, so you keep playing a game you can't win. They need you to believe that success is accessible, that your poverty is temporary, that your struggle is noble. Because the moment you recognize the game is rigged, you stop participating willingly. You stop working for scraps. You stop accepting exploitation as employment. Fairness is the narrative. Dominance is the reality. And dominance requires that most people never see the gap between the two. I've seen brilliant people waste years chasing fairness, demanding justice from systems built on inequality, expecting respect from structures designed to extract, not reward. They believe in meritocracy because they need to. It gives meaning to their suffering. But meaning is a comfort, not a strategy. The elite don't care about fairness. They care about control. They'll preach equality in public and practice ruthlessness in private. They'll advocate for social justice while quietly consolidating wealth through mechanisms you're discouraged from understanding. Tax codes, lobbying, regulatory capture, asset inflation. These aren't anomalies, these are features. The illusion of fairness keeps you focused on individual morality while they manipulate collective systems. You're playing checkers. They're playing three-dimensional chess. And they're winning because you still think the board is level. Fairness is a boundary you were trained to respect. You won't lie because it's wrong. You won't manipulate because it's unethical. You won't exploit because you were raised better. But what you call integrity, they call limitation. What you call ethics, they call weakness. Power doesn't flow to the moral, it flows to the strategic. The moment you realize that fairness only applies to those without leverage, you understand why you've been losing. The rules you follow, they don't follow them. The consequences you fear, they've insulated themselves from them. Approval from society means nothing when you control the society. Fairness is the story they tell you to keep you predictable. Predictability is how they maintain dominance. And dominance is what you're sacrificing every time you expect fairness from a system built to devour it. You want to believe the world operates on justice because the alternative is unbearable. If fairness is a lie, then everything you've sacrificed means nothing. Every promotion you didn't get, every opportunity stolen, every time you worked harder and earned less. But discomfort isn't weakness, it's clarity. The sooner you stop expecting fairness, the sooner you start recognizing leverage. The sooner you abandon the illusion, the sooner you see the machinery. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Fairness isn't coming. Respect isn't earned through obedience. Power isn't granted to those who wait their turn. The system doesn't reward patience. It rewards those who understand that fairness was never part of the equation. And understanding that, that's where manipulation of the narrative ends and your control begins. But control requires something most people refuse to accept. Scarcity is a manufactured emotion. It's not real. It's weaponized. The elite don't just hoard resources. They engineer the perception that there isn't enough. Not enough money, not enough opportunities, not enough time. And that perception controls everything you do. When you believe resources are limited, you compete instead of collaborate. You hoard instead of build. You accept less because you fear having nothing. Scarcity mindset isn't a personal flaw. It's an implanted survival mechanism that keeps you desperate, obedient, and predictable. The moment you internalize scarcity, you stop asking why it exists. You stop questioning who benefits from your fear. You just scramble for crumbs while they control the entire supply chain. Scarcity isn't about what's available. It's about what you're allowed to believe is possible. They use scarcity to dictate your choices before you even make them. Limited time offers, exclusive opportunities, flash sales. These aren't marketing tactics. They're psychological triggers designed to bypass logic and activate panic. When you think something is scarce, you act without thinking. You buy without evaluating. You commit without negotiating. Scarcity removes your power to pause, assess, and reject. It forces urgency where none exists. The rich understand this deeply. They create artificial bottlenecks in housing, in education, in investment opportunities, not because resources are finite, but because controlled access creates demand, and demand creates leverage. When you're chasing scarcity, you're not questioning who created it, you're just grateful to survive it. I've watched entire industries built on manufactured scarcity, real estate markets where supply is intentionally restricted, job markets where qualifications are inflated to gatekeep entry, financial products wrapped in complexity to obscure abundance. The truth? There's more than enough. Always has been. But abundance doesn't create control. Scarcity does. When people believe they're competing for limited resources, they turn on each other instead of the system. They undercut wages. They accept exploitation. They rationalize inequality as natural instead of constructed. Scarcity makes you grateful for less. It makes you feel lucky to have anything at all. And gratitude? That's the psychology of a servant, not a strategist. The moment you stop believing in scarcity, you start seeing the manipulation behind it. Scarcity doesn't just control your money, It controls your behavior. When you think there's not enough, you become conservative, risk-averse. You cling to what you have instead of pursuing what you could build. You stay in jobs you hate because you fear the scarcity of alternatives. You tolerate relationships that drain you because you fear the scarcity of connection. You accept mediocrity because you've been trained to see survival as success. But survival isn't dominance. It's submission disguised as safety. The rich operate from abundance. They don't fear loss because they understand creation. They don't hoard. They leverage. They know scarcity is a tool, not a reality. And as long as you believe in scarcity, they don't need to physically control you. Your fear does it for them. Scarcity is a boundary built inside your mind. It dictates what you think you deserve, what you think you can achieve, what you think is even available to you. The moment you accept that boundary, you stop expanding. You stop demanding. You stop taking. And taking isn't immoral. It's necessary. Power flows to those who claim it, not those who wait for permission. Respect flows to those who act like resources are infinite, not those who beg for scraps. The elite know this. They live in abundance while selling you scarcity. They expand while you contract. They accumulate while you ration. Scarcity is the invisible cage. And the lock? It's your belief that it's real. But belief is just a story you've been told. And stories can be rewritten. The question is whether you're willing to see abundance where you've been conditioned to see fear. Because once you do, the consequences of that shift are irreversible. Dependence is the death of dominance. The moment you rely on someone else's money, you surrender your autonomy. You become predictable, manageable, controllable. Financial dependence isn't just about lacking resources. It's about surrendering the right to decide. Every paycheck you wait for is a leash. Every bill you can't cover without approval is a chain. The system is designed to keep you dependent because dependent people don't rebel. They negotiate, they compromise, they stay quiet. Dependence removes the luxury of consequence. You can't afford to walk away, to say no, to impose boundaries. And without boundaries, you have no power. You have survival. But survival without autonomy is just slow suffocation disguised as responsibility. They want you dependent because dependent people are easy to manage. You won't risk your income, so you won't challenge your boss. You won't risk your benefits, so you won't question the company. You won't risk your credit score, so you won't reject the debt system. Dependence turns you into a calculation, predictable, manageable, exploitable. The rich don't operate this way. They build systems where others depend on them. They control the flow. They dictate terms. They never put themselves in a position where someone else holds their survival. That's not luck. That's strategy. Machiavelli understood it. The one who depends is the one who obeys. The one who provides is the one who commands. Dependence is a psychological cage that doesn't require locks. Fear of losing what you have is enough to keep you inside. I've seen people with intelligence, talent, and ambition waste decades trapped in dependence, not because they lacked ability, but because they feared the gap. The period between leaving security and building independence. That gap is where power lives, but most people never cross it. They stay dependent because dependence is familiar. It's comfortable. It's socially acceptable. You're praised for having a stable job, a steady income, a reliable employer. But stability is just another word for controlled. Reliable means predictable. Steady means stagnant. You trade freedom for the illusion of security, and that trade is exactly what the system needs you to make. Because the moment you're financially dependent, every decision you make is filtered through fear. Fear of losing access, fear of consequences, fear of being cut off. And fear is the most effective form of control. Dependence doesn't just kill dominance, it kills identity. When your survival depends on someone else's approval, you start shaping yourself to meet their expectations. You become what they need you to be. You suppress what threatens them. You perform obedience because disobedience has a price you can't afford. This isn't partnership, it's subordination. And subordination destroys self-respect faster than failure ever could. The psychology of dependence is simple. The one who holds your resources holds your choices. The one who holds your choices holds your behavior. The one who holds your behavior holds you. Respect isn't given to those who depend. It's given to those who control the dependency. And if you're on the wrong side of that equation, no amount of hard work will shift the balance. You want autonomy, but you're afraid to claim it. You want control, but you've been conditioned to see dependence as safety. The truth is brutal. Safety is an illusion designed to keep you manageable. Real security comes from owning your income, controlling your assets, and building systems where others depend on you, not the reverse. That doesn't mean cruelty. It means strategy. It means understanding that power flows toward independence and away from need. The moment you stop needing external approval, external validation, external permission, you become dangerous, not violent, dangerous, unpredictable, uncontrollable. And that's what they fear most. A population that doesn't depend is a population that can't be governed through fear. But breaking dependence requires something most people won't accept: the willingness to endure short-term discomfort for long-term dominance. The question isn't whether you can survive without them. Financial fear is the cheapest weapon ever deployed. It costs nothing to install and everything to escape. You've been trained to fear poverty, failure, instability, and loss. That fear governs every decision you make. It keeps you working jobs you hate, accepting terms you despise, tolerating treatment you'd never defend in others. Fear doesn't need walls or chains. It operates internally. It whispers that you're one mistake away from collapse, one risk away from ruin, one choice away from losing everything. And that whisper? It's not organic. It's engineered. The elite don't control you with force. They control you with the constant threat of consequence. Financial fear is mass submission packaged as personal responsibility. You think you're being cautious. You're being controlled. They use fear because it works faster than force and lasts longer than violence. A broke population is a desperate population. A desperate population doesn't organize. It competes. It turns inward. It attacks itself. Fear makes you focus on survival instead of strategy, on defense instead of dominance. You spend your life protecting what little you have instead of building what you could take. That's intentional. The system needs you afraid because afraid people don't challenge power. They beg for stability. They accept low wages because they fear unemployment. They tolerate exploitation because they fear homelessness. They stay silent because they fear retaliation. Fear is the invisible hand that shapes behavior without ever needing to touch you. And the best part, you enforce it on yourself. I've watched fear destroy people with more talent than their oppressors. Not because they couldn't compete, but because they were psychologically conditioned to see risk as reckless and safety as intelligent. But safety is a trap. It's the place where ambition goes to die. The rich don't fear financial loss the way you do. They've insulated themselves through diversification, legal structures, and backup systems you're never taught to build. They take risks you're told to avoid. They leverage debt you're told to fear. They operate in gray areas you're trained to see as immoral. Why? Because they understand that fear is a tool for control, not a legitimate guide for decision-making. Financial fear isn't wisdom. It's domestication. It's the psychological leash that keeps you obedient without anyone needing to hold it. Fear doesn't just control your actions. It controls your identity. When you're financially afraid, you become smaller. You stop negotiating. You stop demanding. You accept less and call it gratitude. You rationalize your limitations as humility when they're really just internalized powerlessness. The psychology of fear is simple. If you believe the consequence of resistance is unbearable, you'll never resist. You'll comply. You'll submit. You'll perform obedience and call it responsibility. But there's a difference between being responsible and being controlled. Responsibility empowers. Fear paralyzes. And paralysis is exactly what they need from you. A population frozen by financial fear doesn't revolt. It just works harder for less, hoping that obedience will be rewarded. It won't. Obedience is never rewarded with power. It's rewarded with more control. You think your fear is natural, a biological response to legitimate danger, but most of your financial fears are manufactured, inflated, exaggerated to justify submission. The threat of losing your job isn't as catastrophic as they've made you believe. The risk of starting a business isn't as dangerous as they've conditioned you to fear. The consequence of rejecting exploitation isn't as severe as the emotional manipulation suggests. But you've been taught to catastrophize, to imagine worst-case scenarios, to see every deviation from obedience as existential threat. That's not caution, it's conditioning. The moment you realize that most of your financial fear is a psychological implant designed to keep you manageable, everything shifts. Fear loses its grip, consequence becomes negotiable, and power becomes accessible. But accessing it requires you to stop fearing the very thing they've spent your entire life teaching you to avoid. And that thing isn't failure. Comfort is a prison with silk bars. You don't feel the constraint until you try to move. The rich understand something you've been conditioned to ignore. Comfort weakens. It softens your mind, dulls your instincts, and destroys your capacity to resist. When you're comfortable, you stop questioning. You stop preparing. You stop fighting. Comfort creates complacency. And complacency is the most exploitable state of human psychology. The system doesn't need to break you if it can sedate you, give you enough entertainment, enough distraction, enough small pleasures, and you'll trade your power for convenience without even noticing. Comfort isn't a reward for success. It's a tool for control. And the moment you prioritize comfort over dominance, you've already lost. They want you comfortable because comfortable people don't resist. They consume. They distract. They accept incremental decline as long as the decline is gradual enough not to trigger alarm. You tolerate wage stagnation because you still have Netflix. You accept rising costs because you still have credit. You endure exploitation because your apartment has air conditioning and your phone has endless scrolling. Comfort is the anesthetic that keeps you numb while they extract everything of value. It's not conspiracy, it's strategy. The elite don't live in comfort. They live in controlled discomfort. They push themselves, test limits, embrace volatility, because they know that power requires friction. Strength requires resistance, Dominance requires the willingness to endure what others avoid. Meanwhile, you're pacified by convenience, and convenience is just another word for weakness wrapped in marketing. I've seen people with potential destroy themselves through comfort. Not through failure, but through the slow erosion of ambition that comes from having just enough money to avoid panic, just enough stability to avoid risk, just enough distraction to avoid reflection. Comfort is insidious because it doesn't feel like control. It feels like success. You worked hard, you earned your rest, you deserve your ease. But rest without purpose is decay. Ease without tension is atrophy. The moment you stop being uncomfortable, you stop growing. And growth is the only thing that separates power from irrelevance. The rich manufacture discomfort intentionally. They set impossible goals. They create pressure. They design environments where comfort is punished and performance is demanded. Not because they're sadistic, but because they understand that comfort breeds mediocrity. And mediocrity is exploitable. Comfort doesn't just weaken your capacity to act, it weakens your capacity to think. When you're comfortable, you stop asking difficult questions. You stop challenging assumptions. You accept narratives that serve the system because rejecting them requires effort, and effort disrupts comfort. You become mentally lazy, intellectually passive, emotionally predictable, and predictability is vulnerability. The psychology of comfort is simple. The more you have to lose, the less you're willing to risk. The less you're willing to risk, the easier you are to control. They don't need to threaten you directly. They just need to give you enough comfort that the idea of losing it terrifies you into submission. Fear of discomfort is more effective than fear of violence, because discomfort is immediate, it's personal, it's unavoidable, and most people will do anything to avoid it. You think comfort is the goal, the end point, the reward for suffering, but comfort is the trap they set after they've exhausted you. Work hard, save money, retire in peace. That's the narrative. But peace without power is just capitulation disguised as contentment. The moment you accept comfort as your highest aspiration, you stop being a threat. You stop demanding more. You stop taking what's yours. You settle. And settling is exactly what they need you to do. Because settled people don't disrupt. They don't challenge. They don't resist. They just exist within the boundaries they've been given, grateful for the illusion of security that comfort provides. But security is just another form of control, and control requires something you've been avoiding your entire life: the willingness to abandon comfort for the sake of dominance. The question isn't whether you're comfortable. The question is whether comfort has made you weak, and if it has, whether you're willing to feel discomfort long enough to reclaim what you've surrendered. Because what comes next demands something comfort has stolen from you. Hard work is the most elegant lie ever told. You've been conditioned to believe that effort equals reward, that persistence guarantees success, that dedication will eventually be recognized. It won't. Hard work is a psychological trick designed to keep you grinding while others leverage. The system needs you to believe in meritocracy because meritocracy keeps you obedient. You think if you just work harder, stay longer, sacrifice more, eventually you'll break through. But the breakthrough never comes, because hard work without strategy is just exhaustion, and exhaustion is exactly what they need from you. Tired people don't think, they don't question, they don't resist, they just work. And working hard without understanding the game is the fastest way to stay powerless while feeling virtuous about it. They celebrate hard work because it's profitable. Not for you, for them. Every hour you spend working is an hour you're not building leverage. Every promotion you chase is a distraction from ownership. Every raise you negotiate is a fraction of the value you generate. Hard work is the narrative that keeps labor cheap and ambition contained. You're told to admire those who work themselves to death, to respect the grind, to glorify the hustle. But respect doesn't pay your bills. Hustle doesn't build wealth. Hard work doesn't create power. It sustains the power of those who've convinced you that working hard is enough. The rich don't work hard. They work smart. They leverage systems, automate income, and extract value from other people's effort. They don't trade time for money. They trade strategy for control. And control is what you'll never have if you're still measuring your worth by how many hours you've suffered. I've watched brilliant people burn out believing in the myth. They followed the rules, exceeded expectations, sacrificed relationships, health and peace, and received nothing but more work in return. Hard work doesn't get you respect. It gets you more responsibility without more power. It gets you labeled as reliable, which is just another word for exploitable. The moment your value is tied to your effort, you've already lost, because effort can always be replaced. Strategy cannot. The elite understand this. They don't praise hard work in their own circles. They praise positioning, timing, leverage, and ruthlessness. Hard work is what they demand from you. What they practice is domination through intelligence, not labor. And intelligence means understanding that the game rewards those who control the work, not those who do it. Hard work is a boundary that keeps you contained. It gives you something to focus on, something to blame when things don't improve. If you're not succeeding, it's because you're not working hard enough. That's the narrative. It keeps you looking inward, blaming yourself instead of recognizing the structural manipulation. The truth is brutal. Hard work is neutral. It's a tool. And like any tool, it only matters in the hands of someone who knows how to use it strategically. Working hard in the wrong system just makes you a more efficient servant. The psychology of hard work is designed to make you feel productive while staying powerless. Busy but broke, exhausted but expendable, dedicated but disposable. Hard work without leverage is just performance. And performance without ownership is slavery with a paycheck. You want to believe that hard work matters because the alternative is unbearable. If effort doesn't guarantee reward, then everything you've sacrificed was meaningless. Every late night, every missed moment, every compromise. But meaning is a comfort, not a strategy. The moment you stop seeking meaning in hard work and start seeking power through leverage, everything changes. You stop measuring success by hours worked and start measuring it by systems owned. You stop trading time for money and start trading intelligence for control. You stop being the worker and start being the architect. Hard work isn't evil. It's just insufficient. And insufficiency is what they're counting on. Because as long as you believe that working harder is the answer, you'll never ask the real question: who benefits from your exhaustion? And once you ask that question, you'll realize that the answer has never been you. But realizing that isn't enough. You need to understand what replaces hard work when you finally see through the illusion. Predictability is a death sentence you don't see coming. When your behavior is predictable, you become a calculation, a variable in someone else's equation. The moment they can anticipate your moves, they've already neutralized your power. Predictability strips you of leverage because leverage requires uncertainty. If they know how you'll react to pressure, what you'll accept under stress, where your breaking point is, you're not negotiating, you're being managed. The rich understand this instinctively. They operate in unpredictability. They shift strategies, obscure intentions, and keep their next move hidden. Meanwhile, you follow routines, patterns, and systems that broadcast exactly who you are and what you'll do. And that predictability? It's the reason you're stuck. Because predictable people are controllable people. And controllable people never threaten the structure. They study your patterns because patterns reveal weakness. You spend the same way every month. You react the same way under stress. You choose safety over risk every time. That consistency isn't strength, it's vulnerability. Financial systems are designed to exploit predictability. They know when you'll spend, what you'll buy, how much debt you'll tolerate before you panic. Credit scores, purchase histories, behavioral algorithms, all of it exists to map your predictability and convert it into profit. You think you're making choices. You're following scripts. Scripts written by people who've studied your psychology long enough to know exactly how you'll behave before you do. Predictability turns you into livestock, managed, herded, harvested, and the sickest part, you enforce it voluntarily by living the same life everyone else lives, making the same decisions everyone else makes, reacting the same way everyone else reacts. I've seen people trapped in predictability their entire lives without realizing it. Same job for decades, same financial strategies, same risk tolerance, same excuses. They wonder why nothing changes, but nothing changes because they don't. Predictability creates the illusion of stability while guaranteeing stagnation. The moment you become predictable, you stop being dangerous. You stop being a threat. You stop being someone who requires negotiation. You become someone who requires management, and management is control disguised as care. The elite don't want unpredictable populations. They want predictable consumers, predictable workers, predictable voters, people who react on cue, people whose behavior can be shaped through fear, scarcity, and emotional manipulation. Predictability is the infrastructure of mass control, and you've been building it your entire life without realizing it. Predictability doesn't just make you controllable, it makes you irrelevant. When someone can anticipate your next move, they've already planned 3 moves ahead. You're not in the game, you're part of the scenery, background noise in someone else's strategy. The psychology of predictability is simple. Routine creates comfort, comfort creates patterns, and patterns create vulnerability. You think your consistency is discipline, it's rigidity. You think your reliability is professionalism, it's exploitability. The moment you operate outside expected behavior, you create friction. And friction is where power lives. Unpredictability forces others to respond to you instead of managing you. It shifts the dynamic from subordination to negotiation. But most people fear unpredictability because unpredictability feels chaotic, dangerous, unstable. And you've been trained to avoid instability at all costs, even when stability is just another word for imprisonment. You want respect, but respect doesn't flow to the predictable. It flows to the unreadable, to those who can't be manipulated because they can't be anticipated. When your financial behavior is unpredictable, you can't be targeted. When your decisions are unreadable, you can't be controlled. When your reactions are inconsistent, you can't be managed. That doesn't mean chaos. It means strategy. It means understanding that predictability is a gift to your enemies, and unpredictability is the only leverage you have in a system designed to exploit your patterns. The moment you break your routines, shift your strategies, and operate outside expected behavior, you become dangerous again. Not reckless, dangerous. the kind of dangerous that forces systems to negotiate with you instead of processing you. But becoming unpredictable requires abandoning the comfort of consistency. And that abandonment reveals the final truth most people spend their lives avoiding. Control the flow. Control everything. Money isn't wealth. Flow is. The one who dictates where money moves, when it moves, and who receives it holds absolute power. This isn't about having money. It's about controlling the system that distributes it. The elite don't chase currency. They architect the channels. They own the banks, the platforms, the infrastructure, the policies that determine who gets access and who gets excluded. You're focused on earning. They're focused on controlling the earning mechanism itself. That's the difference between labor and dominance, between participation and ownership, between being in the game and owning the board. The ultimate secret isn't hidden in complexity. It's hidden in plain sight. Whoever controls the flow controls truth, respect, and destiny. And you're still waiting for your cut. They don't tell you this because the moment you understand flow, you stop being exploitable. You stop chasing income and start building systems. You stop working for money and start making money work through structure. Control the flow means owning the pipeline, not the water. It means creating dependency, not experiencing it. When you control the flow, you decide terms, you set boundaries, you impose consequences. Others come to you because you hold access to what they need. That's not greed, that's strategy. Machiavelli knew it. The prince who controls resources controls loyalty. The one who distributes wealth controls behavior. Power isn't about accumulation, it's about distribution. And distribution is flow. The moment you shift from receiver to distributor, you've crossed into a different category of existence. One where respect isn't earned, it's commanded. I've watched people spend lifetimes accumulating money without ever controlling flow. They save, they invest, they diversify, but they never own the mechanism. They're still inside someone else's system, playing by someone else's rules, dependent on someone else's infrastructure. Real power isn't having $1 million. It's controlling the platform where millions flow through daily. It's owning the pipeline that others depend on. It's architecting the system where transactions happen. That's why the rich get richer. Not because they work harder or save better, but because they control flow. They own the exchange. They dictate the terms. They tax the movement without ever needing to move themselves. Flow is leverage at scale, and leverage at scale is dominance. Controlling flow isn't just financial, it's psychological. When you control the flow of information, you control perception. When you control the flow of opportunity, you control ambition. When you control the flow of resources, you control survival. Flow is the invisible architecture of power. It's not what you see, it's what you feel. The sense that some people always have access while others always struggle. That's not luck. That's controlled flow. The elite create bottlenecks intentionally. They gatekeep access, they restrict supply, they manipulate demand, and in doing so, they force everyone else to come through them, to ask permission, to pay tribute, to accept terms. Flow control is the reason why financial independence feels impossible, because independence requires access to flow, and access is controlled by those who benefit from your dependence. You've been taught to focus on the destination, the wealth, the success, the outcome. But outcomes are determined by flow. If you don't control the flow, someone else does. And whoever controls the flow controls you. This isn't theoretical. This is the mechanism. Every paycheck you receive flows through a system someone else owns. Every transaction you make enriches a structure you didn't build. Every financial decision you think is yours is actually a choice between options someone else designed. You're not free. You're just selecting from a menu. But the one who writes the menu, that's power. That's control. That's the ultimate secret. Stop trying to get rich and start controlling the flow that creates wealth. Build the platform, own the infrastructure, architect the system. Because the moment you control flow, money becomes irrelevant. Respect becomes automatic. And destiny becomes yours to write. You've seen it now. Machiavelli's money secrets aren't complex. They're hidden behind narratives that glorify your obedience, hidden behind systems that reward your predictability, hidden behind beliefs that keep you working while they control the flow. The rich don't want you to know that money isn't about effort, it's about leverage. That wealth isn't about saving, it's about controlling distribution. That power isn't about morality, it's about understanding the game well enough to rewrite the rules. Machiavelli wrote The Prince to reveal one brutal truth. Those who control perception control everything. And for centuries, they've controlled your perception of money to keep you obedient, not through force, through psychology, through fear, through the illusion that the system is fair and your position in it is your own fault. Every secret you just learned was designed to break that illusion. The controlled narrative keeps you asking the wrong questions. The illusion of fairness keeps you blaming yourself instead of the structure. Scarcity keeps you desperate. Dependence keeps you compliant. Fear keeps you paralyzed. Comfort keeps you weak. Hard work keeps you exhausted. Predictability keeps you exploitable. And the lack of flow control keeps you powerless. These aren't accidents. These are mechanisms. Machiavelli understood that the prince who reveals his strategy loses his kingdom. The rich understand that the population who sees the manipulation stops being manageable. But you've seen it now. And what you do with that knowledge determines whether you stay obedient or become dangerous. This isn't motivation. This is activation. You don't need to believe in fairness anymore. You need to understand control. You don't need to work harder. You need to operate smarter. You don't need their approval. You need your own leverage. Machiavelli's money secrets aren't about getting rich. They're about understanding why you've been kept poor. And understanding that is the first step toward dominance. Watch the next video. Your reconditioning isn't complete. Write this in the comments. The obscure reason why satisfaction seems empty. Machiavelli. Obedience ends where knowledge begins.